WTO is associated with long talks, various tariffs, customs quotas, imports and exports, as well as with other terms which our consumers sometimes do not understand. The task of WTO market program is to break all the barriers between buyers and sellers because we know everything about the prices. What are the major trends of the stationery market in Kazakhstan? Why producing paper in Kazakhstan will become more profitable? What hinders the development of the private manufacturing companies in the country? Writing pads win over gadgets. The current tendency to use paper diaries instead of electronic ones is becoming especially popular in Japan and China. The proof of that is rapid sales growth of writing pads in these countries. Stationery haute couture becomes a new market trend. Nowadays, famous fashion houses produce not only pens and writing pads but other office supplies. A $200 paperclip and $185 scotch tape, which can be used as a clothing belt, are available since last year. Stationery products in Kazakhstan are to be included into the top 5 goods sold by the internet. The most trending products to sell online are beauty and health products, as well as goods for home and garden. The demand for pet products and stationery is also expected to rise. The stationery market is traditionally divided into 3 segments: goods for school children and students, art supplies and office goods. Seasonality of demand can be observed in each segment. Stationery for school children and students are sold mainly in August and September. Organizations make purchases at the beginning of the year.
Да, государственные учреждения на целый год могут окупиться. Ну и здесь тоже выраженность такая.
Public institutions may stock up for a whole year. There is a trend that people buy calendars or diaries in this season. So-called art supplies in Kazakhstan, necessary for professional artists and students, are purchased depending on the season, mainly in autumn and winter.
Наверное, художников, те же студентов. Ну, они имеют сезонность тоже где-то осень, зима.
And only the paper market is not subject to seasonality. The demand for this product is always stable. Since 2004, a permanent growth can be observed in all segments of the Kazakhstani market.
В этом году, по сравнению с 2016 годом,
In comparison with 2016, this year we can see a certain drop in sales because people cut their costs. Still, we closely cooperate with the market of Russia and visit various exhibitions. There are a lot of manufacturers we work with.
работаем. И в России то же самое.
Consumers willing to spend less money has changed market trends. Thus, before 2017, there was an increasing demand mainly for expensive goods. But currently, cheaper ones are more popular. Consumers in Kazakhstan have become more selective. In recent years, we can observe the following tendency. Firstly, increase in consumption, and secondly, at a time of great variety of goods, people prefer things of higher quality and demonstrate brand loyalty. The question is loyalty to some shops and foreign manufacturers. The demand dropped in 2017, but supply remained at the same level. In fact, all stationery goods except paper in the market of Kazakhstan are imported. They are delivered from Russia, Europe and South Asian countries. Most of imported goods subject to taxation. Currently, after Kazakhstan's accession to the WTO, taxes are being lowered.
Для торговли это всегда хорошо. Я считаю. Почему? Потому что
I think that the trade sector always benefited from that thanks to tax regulation. Currently, most of taxes are becoming lower. The truth is that the more taxes we have, the more we attempt to avoid customs duties. Currently, this is a problem in Kazakhstan.
уменьшается, то есть вот этот вот соблазн уменьшается.
Gradual transition to the online format is another modern trend of the stationery market in Kazakhstan.
Люди еще не привыкли.
People still are not completely familiar with these instruments, but in general, certain trends can be observed. In less than a year, the number of visitors exceeded 3 million.
Больше 3 миллионов.
Not all of them make purchases, but little by little use new methods of selecting and buying stationery goods. More than 400 paper mills in Kazakhstan produce paper. Just a few of them are large enterprises, and they are located mainly in Almaty. 5 projects to the amount of almost 2 billion tenge in the field of the paper and pulp industry were implemented under the State Program for Industrial and Innovative Development. Of course, for Kazakhstan there is a long haul ahead to become self-sufficient in paper. Thus, currently imports of paper products exceed $380 million. Producing paper from domestic wood is uneconomical. There is also a lack of raw materials for producing paper from wastes. Many manufacturers of paper and paper products complain about the shortage of raw materials and waste paper. To tackle this problem, the ministry adopted the order as of August 20th, 2016, which imposes a ban on exporting from Kazakhstan of regenerated paper, cardboard and waste paper. This measure should help provide producers with raw materials and help overcome import dependence in the context of the WTO. Stationery goods are delivered in Kazakhstan from 3 sources: Russia, Europe and Asian countries. Currently, the smallest amount of stationery is imported from Europe because most of residents of Kazakhstan could not afford buying them after the devaluation of tenge. We call it the dollar zone. It comprises Asia and, of course, Southeast Asia, in particular Japan, China and South Korea, which sell everything for dollars. In addition, their goods are of high quality, time-proved and sold at reasonable prices. About 50% of officially imported goods in Kazakhstan are from Russia. The northern neighbor offers goods for any taste and wallet. They are more affordable for consumers as they are not subjected to taxation in the customs union. Goods from far abroad markets cannot compete with goods from Russia due to high logistics costs. Kazakhstan itself produces only paper. Paper from Kazakhstan is already purchased by Russia, China, Ukraine and other countries. In 2015, exports reached almost $12 million. In 2016, it increased by almost $1 million. The country attempts to produce other stationery supplies, including copybooks and plastic goods. However, they are so inconsiderable that cannot influence the market in general. Grey import prevents to produce these goods on an industrial scale. Unfortunately, the proportion of grey import in Kazakhstan is very high. All we perfectly know that our neighbors China and stationery supplies from that country account for 50% of the Kazakhstani market. Thanks to the accession to the WTO, import taxes considerably decrease. As a result, the amount of imported goods also drops. Indeed, the lower our taxes, the less people will think about evading them. Moreover, the quality of goods from China is far from ideal and modern consumers are very demanding. How to select stationery for first-year pupils? Where is stationery for CIS countries produced? And how does China violate the WTO norms? All parents of first-year pupils ask themselves a question: how to select proper stationery that will help their child to develop. Think, for instance, about the first pen. The main requirement to it is that it should be easy to use. For reference, it should be neither thick nor thin but of middle thickness. It should not be too heavy or too long. The length of a pen should not exceed 13 centimeters. Bearing in mind that children often chew on pens, we should know that cheap plastic may be toxic. Currently, Southeast Asia is the key stationery supplied to CIS countries. In the contest of certain articles, the proportion of Asian commodities exceeds 60%. The demand for stationery goods is increasing in CIS countries as well as all over the world. For example, the growth rate in the corporate sales segment or sales for offices exceeds 2.5% annually. However, product range of most of stationery companies in CIS does not exceed 1,000 to 3,000 items. For reference, Western companies sell on the average 5,000 to 7,000 items. The increasing demand for office equipment and devices is one of the trends on the modern B2B market. Therefore, in 2016, printer cartridges and paper were the best-selling consumable office materials. Despite the fact that China has been a WTO member for more than 15 years, the country continues to restrict access of some of its goods to the home market by means of tariff shelters and numerous requirements to supply certifications. The strictest barriers are applied to agriculture Agricultural products, in particular out-of-quota wheat supplies, are subjected to a 65% tax. Thus, the US has already filed a lawsuit against China under the WTO.